Hello everyone, happy Global Meetings Industry Day, or GMID. My name is Nolan Nichols and I'm a keynote speaker and your host for this segment of the MPI Broadcast on behalf of Caesars Entertainment. We have a really exciting show lined up for you. First off, Mike Massari, Chief Sales Officer at Caesars Entertainment. He's going to be stopping by to share his insights. And then we have an all-star panel featuring 5 industry leaders from all different organizations to talk about the meetings industry and where we go from here. It's all coming up next. It's GMID 2026. Well, as you all already know, we're celebrating Global Meetings Industry Day to spotlight the power and impact of face-to-face events. I'm joined by Michael Massari, Chief Sales Officer at Caesars Entertainment and a member of the founding group behind GMID, to help us understand why this day truly matters so much, especially for meeting professionals. Mike, I'll start off with this. It's so great to have you on, and many might not know this, but you are part of the founding group that helped establish GMID. For meeting professionals who may not know the history, what inspired its creation and what problem was it meant to solve?
Look, I think for me, what better thing that we could be doing than celebrating face-to-face gatherings and all of the people from taxi cab drivers and front desk agents and housekeepers and porters and banquet waiters and banquet chefs, etc., that execute those events for people. You know, there's a really old Latin saying, and I don't know the Latin, but it translates roughly to nothing great ever happened until first someone had a meeting. You know, and so celebrating face-to-face gatherings is really important.
Well, GMID was created to shine a light on what many call the invisible industry. Why do you think the meetings and events sector, despite being larger than the fashion and automotive industry combined, still struggles for visibility?
Well, I think there's 2 reasons, and I think GMID kind of helps with both. One is it has a lot of disparate parts, right? The front desk agent, the taxi cab driver, and the people at the airport, and the people in the hotel, and the banquet servers. You know, these are all different parts of this that have to all come together, and it's very difficult for us to organize all of those parts because they're so disparate. And I think we need to continue to push, you know, a really grassroots coalition that helps all of those people gather together, from restaurants to taxi cab drivers to hotels to convention centers, and talk about this together. And so I think GMID's a great opportunity for us to do that.
Those are great points, Mike. And visibility becomes even more important when you look at the economic impact. You know, the meetings and events industry, it contributes more than $1 trillion to the global economy and supports over 10 million jobs. I know you've been many times here in DC on Capitol Hill talking about the value of the meetings and events industry to our elected leaders, but what guidance would you give planners as they advocate for the business impact of meetings inside their own organizations?
If you want to be a successful organization, you have to understand when you gather together face to face and why, and who ought to be there. And so I think really understanding that is an important part of what we do. And for meeting planners that are working inside of companies, I think that's where they should start. They should say, why are we gathering together? What are we trying to accomplish? Why is face to face the best medium? And then how do I articulate that to the people in my organization?
Okay, so let's talk about the thing that many of us might be already tired of hearing or talking about, AI, or all these new technology tools that are forming. What do you think the effect this has on in-person meetings and events?
Oh, look, I think face to face is the gold standard or remains the gold standard. Somebody in business recently said that with with AI video becoming so almost perfect, that really the only way to arbitrate truth in this world is going to be sitting face to face in front of somebody. So, if people are out there worried about the value of a face to face interaction, there's no digital mechanism that allows you to understand what people are thinking, what they're saying, what they're trying to communicate better than being in front of them. And I don't worry about face to face being the gold standard.
Well, for our last question, Mike, we have a new generation going into college and entering the workforce. I'm curious, what's your perspective on the future of the meetings and events industry in terms of attracting and retaining the emerging talent of tomorrow and the next generation?
Well, look, I think this is a great career, right? I think the meetings and events industry has opportunities for people with all kinds of different interests from all kinds of different disciplines. When you think about finance and accounting and operations and service and sales and marketing, so I building development, even design and construction. So I think there are many different disciplines for people with many different interests, and I think if you go back 30 or 40 years, you wouldn't have been able to find educational tools that help support that. I think you can find that now. I might not have even recommended this industry to my child 30 years ago, but today I do, and today I do very strongly. So I think it's a great, interesting industry with lots of different disciplines and a lot of runway, because I think, as I said, face-to-face stays really vital to people.
Mike, thank you so much for sharing your perspective, and thank you for being a champion of this industry for many years now, both in Las Vegas, on Capitol Hill, and beyond. And to all the meeting professionals joining us, GMID exists to champion the work you do and the value you create every single day. And we thank you for what you're doing also. Now I want to bring in our all-star panel, and I'm joined by an extraordinary group of leaders who shape the way our industry connects, inspires, and transforms. So let's dive right in. GMID reminds us that face-to-face meetings drive connection, community, and economic growth. From where each of you sits, what makes gathering in person more essential today than ever?
I think that today, as we see the world become more digital, that value of human connection becomes even more important.
I think that trust is in face-to-face settings is authentic and verifiable. I think in such a tech-driven world now, with the advent of AI kind of seeping into every part of our lives, it's so hard to trust what is real, what is the true content, what is the true message.
Often technology connects you online, but you don't have that feeling of human connection and belonging and building community. For younger generations as well, helping them to really build their networks in a way that is actually difficult to do in the online world. And we saw that during the pandemic as well.
I was just talking to somebody yesterday about loneliness. Right, we're hearing a lot about that, and this is, as we all know, this is a phenomenal career to jump into. Right, I don't know, I stumbled on it, thank God. Right, I think most of us did, and that ability to go out and connect and learn how to build your career really happens in person.
The human connection, it's in our DNA. It's where we excel. It's why we have dinners with our family and friends, and it just puts us in a very familiar place to then conduct anything that we need to do. And it's in our DNA. We're all human.
Kelly, I want to start with you. You oversee one of the largest and most diverse meetings portfolios in the country. With the volume of programs that you see, you have a unique vantage point into what's changing. What trends are you seeing in how organizations are redefining wow moments? And how is that shaping the future of large-scale experiences?
WOW feels today, and what we're seeing is it's no longer the pyrotechnics of the world. It's really more very intentional meetings that are specific and they're personal. And we're creating environments that feel familiar to the attendees, and it's specific. And I think that is something that we are definitely seeing become more thoughtful in this space.
Karina, turning to you, IMEX sits at the center of the global ecosystem. I was there for the first time last fall. It was absolutely incredible there in Vegas. I'm curious, what signals are you seeing internationally that tell us the industry is evolving, whether in attendee expectations, destination strategy, or how we think about experiential design?
As Kelly was talking about creating wow moments that are very thought through and really thinking through the details, that really is about the intention of the design and using design to really differentiate events in this world of sort of AI sameness. Live events have that opportunity to really drive connection and relationships and also belonging as well. In terms of destinations, we really see that destinations across the world are maturing in terms of how they present themselves to the industry and attract those events. And they're doing that by really, again, differentiating themselves, not just on the quality of their infrastructure, which is how they used to always display themselves, but really looking at the values of the destination and the organization that's bringing the events are really working together to drive forward those objectives and drive forward also local industries and leave a legacy.
Steve, Meritz has long been known for understanding human behavior. I'm curious, what does your data tell us about what truly moves attendees today, and how can planners translate that into more meaningful engagement?
I think today's attendees really want to be seen as individuals. We all know that there are averages mean nothing over a large number, right? And so we have to design to draw in every individual uniquely, right? By the time 2030 hits, 3/4 of the people that are going to be attending all of our events are going to be millennials and Gen Z. These folks don't automatically come to events, right? They have to be cajoled. They have to have something of interest to them, not something that they can consume by themselves. And they need to have interaction. It's really about how they can build relationships, express their purpose, and find new meaning, if you will, by how you structure and design your event.
John, I'm interested from your view to the planner seat. What are the elements that elevate a program from well executed to extraordinary, especially when you're designing for global audiences with very different needs?
You really have to pay attention to the individual. We do a lot of that with pre-event surveys, down to favorite colors and favorite songs, or do they love coffee or do they like or juice? Everyone should have a moment at that event and be able to say they really took a moment to care for me.
Dina, Opus is known for immersive storytelling. What role does narrative play in crafting experiences that resonate long after the event ends?
We all grew up in the Sage from the Stage, world, and it now is from the audience back to the stage, and then out of that room, to John's point, of all of those things that they remember. So it's putting the audience in the center of that narrative. The audience becomes co-creators.
Okay, so we've gone around the room a little bit. Now we're going to open it up for the entire group. We talk a lot about wow moments, but they don't happen by accident. What does intentional design look like in practice? And where do organizations often get it wrong?
Good design is really kind of this invisible layer that is ensuring all those things happen. But what we're talking about is wow moments that are intentionally designed to drive a certain human need, as John said, or as Steve said, to drive the ability for attendees to personalize their experience and create those core memories. And that's what makes it wow, rather than this big budget item. The wow moment for them might be that they got the dietary requirements that were specialized to them, or it might be that they met this amazing person that will help them in their career, rather than what, as an organizer, you might think.
To John's point earlier, having technology and the ability to communicate with your attendees before they get there allows you to avoid assuming what they need and what they want. And so I think that is an opportunity to go wrong, is making assumptions, but because of what we have at our disposal today, we can avoid that.
For most people, the wow moment is creating a meaningful connection that lasts longer than just the event. It can last a lifetime.
And I would say on the other side of that is at times helping our clients let go of I'm going to say sacred cows within an event that maybe no longer facilitate the need.
I think it's a good point. The sacred cows, right? I mean, in our experience, a lot of times clients won't let go of those. However, what we can do is maybe have them look at it a different way, but still deliver that content.
Those are some really great answers. I want to talk about ROI. ROI is still the language of the business. How are you seeing experiential excellence translate into measurable outcomes, whether that's engagement, retention, sales impact, or brand loyalty?
What we've done is year after year after year, we've published those results showing that simply by attending, the individual distributor's business is going to go up. That has now increased by a factor of 30% who all is attending the annual event, which of course they have to pay to attend themselves. So I think that taking ROI and turning it into something that's much more bite-sized as opposed to trying to figure out every variable that you can touch, and getting down to what's most meaningful for that individual event and that individual customer or sponsor is critically important.
It's good to look beyond just ROI and look at what those different measures can be and value them as equally depending on what the objectives are.
Taking the time to understand the client's KPIs, what are they going to be judged on?
Ask the question. It's very simple. I think it's something that maybe we don't do as often as we should, but we've begun doing that more and more.
I want to switch gears to talk about a really interesting trend right now. You know, wellness and sustainability has moved from nice to have to strategic imperatives. How are these priorities reshaping the way we design and deliver meetings today and going into the future?
We're working with a number of our clients to help actually look at their entire event portfolio and figure out what is the carbon footprint, what are we doing with regard to sustainability. We are seeing more and more of that type of activity, and I do believe that, you know, as we go forward, let's say by 2030, because it is such a critical component of the younger generation's life, that it will become a part of the standard that we all have to abide by, and that's just the right thing to do.
I think the way that we see wellness is exactly as you said, Nolan, not this sort of element on the side, which it used to be, even when we started off, but actually as an integral part of some of our attendees or exhibitors show experience in order to help them do their business better.
I was holding on to an experience that we had recently in Las Vegas with Kelly because it was a wow moment and it's related to wellness. So we had a breath work session in one of our general sessions, and I was standing in the back of the room, and everybody's posture just changed all at once. And it was like this calming moment. And I think that at that moment, I said to myself, this is needed for every meeting.
John, thank you so much. I feel that this is exactly what we set out to accomplish 3 years ago. As a thought leader in the wellness space, the fact that this is now more an automatic part of the conversation just feels so right. And I love the personalization side of it, and that wellness can be what you want it to be.
Caesars really led the way on this wellness. You went in, you owned it. I can't think of another brand, honestly, that has gone in as you have and really put it at the forefront, which is awesome. As I think about these two questions, I actually think about the employees at our agency. And so that health and wellness has to start inside. As leaders in the event industry, we actually need to lead by example for our employees, and they will do that for our clients.
Well, this has been absolutely fantastic. I wish we had more time, but I want to thank the entire panel for an incredible discussion, and I want to thank you, the viewer, for being part of this industry and playing a role in the future of it. If you enjoy this conversation, we host conversations each month like this one on the Meeting Brief, which is available on the social channels of Caesars Entertainment Meetings and Events. Thank you so much for joining us for Global Meetings Industry Day 2026 and being part of this great industry.